Well folks, welcome back to the workshop here, and today we have a good selection of tools in for repair. Wee bit of an oddball mixture of everything, so thought I'd do a long tool repair marathon video on the lot, see what we can and can't fix, or more accurately, see what's actually worth fixing. We're going to start them off with this wee Makita saw, cordless. What is she? A DCS 552. So this here is actually a metal saw. Basically a wee skill saw, but runs a wee bit slower with a metal blade for cutting steel. And she is, well, 2019. So it's done a wee bit of work. Obviously not been well kept because the blade's all rusted. See what she's doing. She's actually doing nothing. Note, does this have an LED light? Because it's not even coming on. No, not sure if this has an LED light or not. If it does, it ain't lighting up. Right, check the simple stuff first. Now either this has done absolutely no work or somebody has replaced them brushes. That is brand new, hasn't even worn through the chamfer yet at the front. See, they have ran, but they haven't done much. The brush holder doesn't look melted. We'll get in deeper and see what the crack is. We'll check the brush holder itself to make sure the brushes are getting all the way down and not getting jammed. We'll check the controller and the battery connectors up here, make sure nothing's melted. Controller doesn't look bad. Normally you'll see a burn mark or some sort of black tire residue for it's melted and the smoke's got out. Nothing on this looks too bad. No, them leads aren't even melted. Sometimes they can overheat, start to short out or burn the connectors here. Normally it'll melt the plastic over these two wee pins. You can see which one's melted, but they're fine. The connectors are tight. So why is this thing not going on at all? That's working. That's working. Pull that out. That all looks fine. No, that motor's not overheated, that's not burnt. Brushes definitely went on. So where's the problem? What do we do here? We test everything we can. Right, power is going to the brush holders from the switch. The switch is working. That's not a problem. Our battery retainer is still good, that's not burnt. And this wee safety switch at the top is also good. And there is actually an LED light, because that's what this connector is for. Whenever this little switch here is engaged, it switches on this LED, which must be shining down the front, somewhere down on here. So that light was not coming on whenever we were testing it. So more than likely, it's going to be this here, the controller. So with no way to actually test this on its own to see if it's gone, we can just narrow it down. This is good, this is good, this is good. End bell's good. The field or yoke is just a permanent magnet, and there's plenty of strength left to it. The armature looks good. Doesn't seem to be any burning on that at all. So I would imagine that's the controller. So price this up and see if it's going to be worth putting on. Right, this here is only costing about 50 or 60 euro, which isn't expensive. So we'll go ahead and fix this. But I don't have one in stock, so I'm going to have to order this in. So for now, this one's going to have to wait. Just until spare parts come on. Spare parts being one part. They're dead easy to change anyway. Literally just a few wires, 2 screw up here, 1 connector goes on to the actual battery terminals, and there's normally 1 wee crimp connector as well. Very, very simple. Just take it 1 wire at a time, and they're easy to change. Make sure I've got everything. It's always good to leave a note along with it, just so you know how long you've been waiting on the parts and what parts actually ordered, just in case you have to ring up again to find out where it is. Now, next up we have a Milwaukee. The customer says it's not working, but it is working. It's not that old either. 2020. What model is she? M18 BLPD2. Chuck's working. Variable's working. Forward and back's working. And the gearbox is working at both speeds, and she's not slipping. She's getting in and out of hammer mode. And the clutch is working. So what's wrong with her? Give the customer a ring here and find out. Right. He says it does keep on running, but eventually then stops. And when it stops, it won't work again for a long time. You have to leave it down. Maybe a couple of days later it might run again. In other words, that's either a faulty switch or a faulty controller. And for Milwaukee, that's an entire motor unit. This particular one, the motor unit's not all that expensive. You can buy them online for maybe 70 or 80 euro. But for me to fit that here in the workshop, you're adding on labour and the VAT. Even if I kept the labour down to bare minimum, just charge a tenner for stripping this down and replacing the whole motor unit, rebuilding it again, you're still going to be talking about 90 to 100 euro for this here repair. And to be honest, it's just not worth it. You can buy this here in some places for about 100 to 140 euro. So it's just not going to be worth fixing. It's working a little bit for him, so it'll do for a spare. But for me to fix it, it's not going to be worth it. So that one, it's just not going to be fixed. Right, next up is an old Itachi G12 SR3. Very, very free. Maybe the brushes are gone on this because that's too free. Way too free. Right, she's a bit spluttery. Could be a motor problem, or it could just be like I thought, I need a set of brushes. Not much left of that. Maybe I need a set of bearings as well, because it was very, very free still. Yeah. Brush is needed. What's the motor like? Doesn't look bad. A chance a set of brushes first. Probably does need bearings as well, but she's very old and she's not all that expensive a machine, so it might not be worth a set of bearings. If anything, the bearings are just too free, so they haven't actually failed yet. But the motor's also sounding very spluttery. Brushes might cure that, it might not, so there's no point in stripping this all down, changing the bearings, putting them back together again, the new set of brushes, and the motor being bad. So first off, put a set of brushes onto it and see what it just sounds like then. Now Itachi, or Hikoki as they now are, can be a wee bit funny, especially the grinders. 4.5 inch, 9 inch grinders. For general stuff like this one, you can buy for very, very cheap. Bigger ones like the 9 inch, I think it's a SC3, can be more expensive. That's a 2400 watt motor. They can be an expensive machine to buy. Some are cheap to buy, some are expensive to buy. Spare parts are the same. Sometimes the spare parts on the cheaper ones can be very expensive, so it makes them not worth fixing. Sometimes the more expensive machines, spare parts are a little bit cheaper, makes it more worthwhile fixing. This one is only a cheap and cheerful 4.5 inch Itachi grinder. You could probably pick these up back in the day for about, what, 60 or 70 euro. To fix it now, the brushes alone are 20. Just for these wee set of brushes. So that already is fast approaching the halfway mark of the cost of this here machine. So we don't want to go spending an awful lot of money on it. If you also go changing the bearings, you're looking at another 12 or 15 euro for them, plus more labour, which is going to put the price up. So we'll change the brushes for now because they'll be worth a set of brushes, and we'll see what she sounds like then. If she's still spluttering, I'm going to take them out again, forget about it. She runs and she sounds okay in the motor, doesn't sound like there's no rumbling sound from the bearings. We'll leave it at that. No cover on, so the lever switch is not engaging. That's actually not running too bad. She sounds fine. She's not sparking. Motor's running perfectly. And she's stopping a lot quicker as well. So it was actually the worn out brushes weren't actually pressing right against the armature. I got to run too freely. Now with the new brushes on, pressed against there, it's now stopping. So that will do for this one set of brushes. Is all she needs. That'll do it. I would say a cheap fix, but it's not. It's probably about €35 just for that repair. Right, next up we have a Makita. This time it's a jigsaw. Oh, that's not good. Appears to be jammed. Right. Don't think it'll be this end. We'll take the brushes out anyway. And I would say they were also replaced. Clearly, that's done quite a bit of work. Can't even see the year anymore. Those brushes are again brand spanking new. So I'd say there's something in the gearbox either broken or she's packed out with sawdust. Whenever jammed up, they've tried changing the brushes to see if that was the problem, but it's not. So I'd say they're brand new and never been used. Now, these do have an issue with the gearbox because it's a sealed unit and it's a cordless tool. They don't want too much resistance on the tool holder, so the seal isn't exactly tight, and this actual tool holder goes back and forth, so eventually dust and debris starts getting up onto the gearbox over a long period of time, mind you, and actually clogs up the gearbox. The main problem is going to be inside of here. These are always a tight fit. There we go. Take out the wee lead for the LED light. Now the motor should be okay. I don't need to go onto this side, I don't think. But we will give it a little spin. We can't even get it with a spin because it's all jammed up solid. Why is that so tight? Wrong size. Maybe it is. Oh, it's tight. Not just them screws that hold it on. Little C-clip here too. That's on tight. That might be the problem. Packed out. Sawdust. Look at that. Loads of it. So I'll open the gear as well. Doesn't look like much till you keep on digging. All the way back in there. And we have to dig because the screws stick off the motor section. It's down on here. That is jammed on tight. Hey. That's packed tight. Solid, like you can actually feel it cutting through the sawdust. Screws out. Let's take that washer out. Now to clean all this out. See if we can get this freed up again, or at least enough to run. And hopefully it won't have actually done the motor any harm. Look at all that. And it's not operator error. There's 2 steel plates on this as well. So this is your guide, that's your actual wee needle roller. This what here sits on, which raises your blade up and down, lifts the tool holder. So it doesn't actually glide on the aluminium housing because it'll just wear out. So there's 2 hardened steel plates down here for this here guide to run up and down on, so it doesn't actually wear out. Now, because they're hardened steel and it's only a cordless machine, even with all the grease gone and dried up from the sawdust, does it no harm. It takes a long time to wear these things out. So very bad, you'll have to unscrew the plates and take them out as well to get them totally clean. But normally this one isn't so bad. There's actually still some grease in this. Should get away with just leaving it as is and washing it out. So we'll get away with leaving that as is. Your tool holder, if that ever breaks, sometimes they can fall apart, or you get a slap or something or a drop, these can break off, or the head at least comes apart. You can buy them as one solid piece. I think they cost what, 30 or 40 euro or so. Comes as a complete assembly, or you can actually buy the individual components inside as well. So if the wee spring breaks or something inside, you can just buy the individual pieces and fix it yourself. But if you want to just replace the whole assembly, which is a lot easier, take out them 4 screws also, take out those 2 plates, and you can take off a wee C-clip or a circlip over here. That pops out, the pan comes out, the tool holder can come out then, you can just replace it. But to get the pan out, you have to move these steel plates out of the way. So this now, we'll give it a good wash out. Armature looks okay. Normally if they get badly burnt up or way overheated, it'll start burning the resin here, it'll start going black. But that looks okay. Might give that motor housing a wee clean out as well, or at least a wee wipe down. Right, we'll wash all this out. See if we can get it freed up again. That is what actually came out of that little gearbox. Not much oil in that, or grease. It was all just sawdust. Right, that's them all cleaned out. Wasn't too bad actually. I would show you the cleaning process, but it's very, very boring. It's not like you can just put it in the parts washer and give it a wipe with a paintbrush. It's all jammed in tight. You're wiping it with a fluid on the top of a screwdriver basically to get it all removed. It takes an age, but that's her. Now, in the rebuild, we also just changed this bearing as well. Installed a fag bearing onto this here. There's a 608 bottom one's fine. A good old Makita, even though it is only a brushed machine, but they still use NSK bearings on it. Sawdust must have got onto that one or something. It's very, very stiff. So change that one as well. Now for this, we just need to rebuild. Now it'd be easier just to rebuild it here now like this, but the screws for holding onto the motor housing are actually on the bottom, so we have to put the motor housing onto this first. And you have to do then is just keep touching up the grease and rebuild as you go. Now, don't be tempted to put an awful lot of grease into this because the cordless ones just do not take an awful lot. A touch and that's about it. So the little needle roller, a sleeve over the top of it. And obviously make sure them tracks have a good coating of grease. You put a wee bit of extra onto here, but not too much. Just don't be tempted to fill the whole cavity. About that much is all you need. Any extra you put on is eventually going to start working its way down to the base here and out through the oil seal, which isn't really an oil seal. It's just basically a very light dust seal. As you can see, for the dust, it's not even effective, so grease is definitely going to come out if you put on too much. So don't be tempted to overfill it, or you're just going to make a mess at the front of the jigsaw. Now, put your roller to the top, put your tool holder to the top, line the two up and put them together. Just give it a test before you go any further, just in case there was any problems. Sounds good. Now your quick release coil spring for it. That sits on there. Drop that into here, and then one bolt with a shoulder on it holds them two in. You have one square nut that sits down in the housing here. That's for locking on your base. And that should get this up and running nice and smoothly again. That's her, one seized Makita jigsaw up and running again. The DJV 180. This is the older brushed model. Gearbox just packed out with sawdust. Strip it, clean it, re-grease it. That cures the problem. Now, next up we have an Instafix. Customer needs us straight away. He's waiting on the shop. Working. Problem is, he's broken a bit inside the tool holder, so we can't get this bit out. Quite a common one, especially if you're using cheaper magnetic bit holders or if you're using actual long shank bits. If you're going too hard, or if the cheaper ones that can just shear off down near the ball. If you're lucky, if it's not too tight, you can hold back the sleeve here, get an air compressor, air line, and actually blow it directly down into the bit itself. If it's not too tight, it should blow back out again. We'll try that first before we do anything else here. Okay, that's the easiest thing you can try. Sometimes if they're slack enough, they will just blow out. More often than not, they don't. After that, if that doesn't work, you're stripping it. You have to take apart this actual tool holder sleeve. There's a chuck end on it. Luckily, it's not difficult to do. The sleeve is held in by a washer here and a C-clip or a spring clip. Sometimes you can get a little pokey and actually just get under that spring and lift it, because she's just round. It'll keep running around itself, so it can sometimes get a little bit awkward. And you need a flat head or two pointies to actually hold the ring, whilst use the other one to spread it out. The sleeve is actually raised up as well, which is making this a little bit more difficult. Maybe two wee haws would be better. Two flats, tiny little flat in this wee haw screwdriver. Yeah, it's a lot better. Oh, that was lucky. Shot straight up and straight back down. Take them out. And you have two steel balls. And that's still tight. So, to get that far now, one, you can try the air compressor again, see if that moves now. Or two, get yourself a hammer and see if you can actually get it to jump out. Sometimes the tapping can get the bit to just slowly walk its way out. Clearly, it's not working here. No. Secondly, you can try the air compressor again. Blow straight down here. There's no balls now holding it. Or straight into the actual ball hole and see if the pressure will actually blow this bit out of it. If that doesn't work, then you're getting a drill bit drilling down onto the center. So you can then get an extractor or some sort of screw to screw into it to then pull it out. That's if it's very difficult. Before we do any of that, I want to try get the compressor on here. Normally it does come out with a compressor once you get the chuck taken apart. This well, definitely got her loosened, but she's not out the whole way. Get something inside now. Give it a wee push. That's actually quite tight. There we go. One butt removed from a Makita impact driver. I'll get this man back to work. Put your 2 steel balls back in. Now if you're doing this little job for a customer standing waiting, make sure you have spare parts, because if you lose any of these pieces, you're going to have to order them in. Spring first, then this flat washer, then the C-clip to hold it all down. And that's it. One butt holder, up and running again. Simple as that. It's a lot easier when it comes out with the compressor first time. Now, next up we have a Milwaukee nail gun, or should I say staple gun, an 18 gauge crown staple gun. These here, to be honest, I don't really like working on them, because mainly you can't get parts for them. This is what? An M18 NCS 18GS, and she's 2022. So really, you would think that would still be under warranty. But 1 year warranty here in Ireland for Milwaukee stuff, not 5 like in the States. You get a 3 year warranty if you register it, but like I say, everybody forgets to register it or don't know you have to register it. So you only ever get the 1 year basically. This one, I'd imagine she's not firing. Hoping it's just not sinking the actual pins, because if there's anything gone on the inside, they're generally not worth fixing. Milwaukee, unlike the Hikoki, grip everything together. So nothing available up on here in the chamber like the pin or anything like that there, the gearing system, like in the Hikoki one. That's all a complete unit, would probably cost as much as the gun. Same as the motor, controller, switches, magazine. Everything is just grouped into part assemblies. You can't really buy individual pieces. You have to buy big groups of parts, which makes it very expensive. But the main thing with these is going to be regassing. These are gassed up with nitrogen out of the factory. Obviously, not many places have compressed nitrogen gas for regassing these, nor have the setup for it. So most of the time, nobody wants to actually regas them or can't regas them. Most of the time you take this on somewhere, they just say, no, buy a new one. But I have started taking the odd one on now, because simply around here, there is nowhere to get them regassed or repaired. Nobody will look at them. So I have started taking them on. Did get a wee hack for actually regassing them here. Instead of actually putting in nitrogen, you can just use compressed air. The nitrogen is a bit of a silly thing. Some people say because it's larger molecules in the air, they actually leak out less, but obviously air is mainly nitrogen anyway, doesn't make any sense. Other people say it's for moisture, because it's compressed nitrogen, there's no water in it, so there's no water condensation inside the gun. But that again doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're reusing the same compressed nitrogen all the time, same as compressed air. You're not taking on fresh stuff to build up moisture inside. It's the same air all the time. So regassing these with air is absolutely, totally fine. Basically your only option. Nobody's going to have compressed nitrogen lying about. So first off, what we want to know is what's it doing. What we want is the nail to be sticking out proud. If they're doing that, it means it just needs regassed. If it's making a bad sound, it means it's scrap. I got a clear spot to fire this into, where I'm not going to jam up the pin. Oh, not good. No, there we go. One pin sticking out. Right, that might be okay. Right, we might get away with it. Right, this mightn't be as bad as it looks. It's making a bad sound, never sticking the pan back, but that might just be to the fact that there's not enough air to fire and you sort of need 2 goes to get the pan back again. Hopefully anyway. No door or anything in this. It's covered in grease too, but unlike the DeWalt, grease is no harm to this thing. I'll get under here, see what we can do. Hopefully regassing this will solve the problem. Do remember, if you ever are working on these, they're a pressurized gun. So before you can do any work on the inside, you need to get rid of the pressurized gas. All drywall dust as well. Right, fairly simple on the inside. You've got your controller and your actual button selector over here. Small brushless motor, gear train then for actually reducing the speed and increasing the torque in order to actually drive this pinwheel at the top, same as the Itachi. So she is now poised and ready to fire. And when I say she's under pressure ready to fire, I mean literally ready to fire. This is sitting on the last pin. There's another wee safety catch in here as well, just in case. But she's under maximum pressure. So whenever you regas this, you gas this chamber up to about 9 or 10 bar. But then the pin compresses that 9 or 10 bar even more. So this is under high pressure. So you don't want to turn this motor just in case this thing fires. What you want to do is get rid of the gas. And you can lift your whole motor and chamber assembly. Lift that all up to get this Allen key on here. Take that out. And underneath that there'll be a little valve, just like your normal car tire, for letting pressurized air in, not letting it out. There's a little valve down in here, just to release the nitrogen out of that. Simple as that. So this is not under load. We can safely work on the gun. So what we want to do before we regas this is to get the pin all the way down, so we can pressurize this to max pressure before the actual motor compresses it more with the pin. So to get the pin down, we have to free it from here. So it's sitting on this last pin. To get it away from that pin, just rotate the motor by hand a little bit. So the pin moves away, and there's nothing in the way here now. So that pin can move down. Just like the Itachi, there's actually gear teeth on this pin. So they have to clear this here pin wheel. The back of that then, you have this little safety lever, a safety catch. So that's controlled by a solenoid here. That's engaged, it will not let the pin down, it snags it. So we also have to disengage that. Now the pin is free to move. To get the pin down, open up your magazine and just painstakingly pull this lever back and ratchet down the pin with a screwdriver or something, but this way can be a wee bit risky if you damage this here sensor. And once you get it out so far, because you're pulling the pin out, you're creating suction inside the chamber here now, so every once in a while you will have to just release that by pressing the valve again. Keep going until you get the pin fully out. Now, when it's fully out, you're ready to regas it. All you need to regas it is a special fitting and regulator off Milwaukee's, but of course they don't sell them. So get yourself a hydraulic fitting. This, I can't remember exactly, I think it's a 1/8 BSP thread on an adapter. The adapter then is just fitting a normal coupler then for your compressor. I think it's 1/8 BSP, I'm not sure. I actually done another video in the past, regassing one of these Milwaukee guns where I got one of these made up. And that video will tell you exactly what it is. But it's a hydraulic fitting anyway. All it is just a coupler, one thread to another, straight through. This can be connected up to your compressor. And I'll regas this here. But you're going to have to get your compressor up to about 9 or 10 bar. Normal 8 bar compressor is not going to be enough. But if that's all you have, you can open up the control box and adjust the set screw to increase the pressure to which the actual compressor knocks off. That'll allow you to get up to about 9 or 10 bar. That's if the safety pressure release valve doesn't blow off beforehand, that is. So we use this here to regas. Because this is a one-way valve inside, once the pressure on this side is high enough, it'll force this valve open, allowing the air into the compressor. You don't actually need something to press on the wee end of the valve. And once the pressure's in here, you can remove this pressure, fitting down here, this side, and the valve will actually reseat itself and lock the pressure inside. Obviously, don't adjust the screw when these wires are live, or you're just going to be asking for trouble. Tighten that up a few turns, and that'll get the compressor to run to a higher pressure. I'm not going to be doing this all the time. This is just a one-off. I'll adjust this back whenever I'm finished. That'll do. That's just a safety valve. It released anyway, even though I tipped it up. That's her. Fully pressurized. Get this wee valve back off again. And put the wee bung back in. And just make sure your motor is seated correctly. Just give it a twist. This here straight notch here should be facing straight up. There's another one on the other side that locates under the body. So this stator here should not rotate. It should be locked in position. Now just give one more wee scoot around to make sure all the wires are in place. We're running up along here, around the back. And this one, the little connector here, is sitting between the two wee locator pins here. Everything else is wired in, just to make sure nothing's nipped or going to get nipped. Because they're all fairly light wires. You really don't want to get them pinched and broken. Thing I will say, she closes a lot easier than the Itachi. Just make sure you have all your screws on. Pay most attention to this section of screws here. These are what hold your actual motor together. The motor isn't actually located in itself, it's the clamshell, the body of the machine that lines up the motor. If they're slack, the motor's going to move, and the rotor's going to move and rub off the stator, burn it out. So make sure they're tightened up correctly. But obviously don't over tighten them and strap them out. Now, moment of truth. While she fire on, we give a retest. Now, the first shot is not going to do anything because the pin is already fully out. Now she should fire. And I'm out of nails. Try again with a fresh magazine. Look at that. That's her. One Milwaukee staple gun. M18 NCS 18GS. Up and running again after getting regassed with compressed air up to roughly 9 or 10 bar of pressure, or about 140 to 145 psi. Get her regassed and she fires again, no problem. Shooting every nail instead of every second one, and she's actually sinking them correctly. So if your Milwaukee gun no longer sinks your nails, or in this case your staples, you need to get it regassed. If you're in the States, it's probably not a problem. You can send it off to Milwaukee under a 5-year warranty, they'll fix it up for you. But here in Europe, with a 1-year warranty, you're going to have a hard time getting somebody to actually regas it. You're more than likely going to have to do it yourself. Go online or go to your local hardware shop. Get yourself a 1/8 BSP hydraulic fitting coupler. That'll get your gun regassed and up and running again. That's her. Next up is a Bosch hammer. This is the GBH8/45D. These can be expensive to fix if the gears go wrong up here. Actually sounds alright. Gears might be okay. She's going through the modes. So what's wrong with it? Maybe that's the problem. It's not holding anything. Chisel going in. Yeah, tool holder's worn out. Chisel goes in, but it's just spinning inside the holder. So the pause or the stopping devices inside have broken. Probably the indexing disc is gone, and the keyways and the tool holder is away. So that will be expensive. That tool holder alone costs about €150, plus €10 for the keyways and €10 for the indexing disc, plus whatever other wee bits might be broken inside, plus whatever could be wrong up here. So that will have to be stripped apart and replaced, but first we'll just make sure she's hammering as well. Actually, she seems to be hammering alright. So this is the problem. And that's another problem. Handle's just spinning. That handle as a whole costs about €30, but you can also buy the parts off the handle. So if your handle breaks, don't go throwing it away and just go and look to buy another one. If you break your handle or the bar clamp up here, or you strip out the thread, like I think this one is, don't go throwing it away. You can just replace the part that's broke. So you can buy the handle, you can buy the spring clamp here, you can buy the actual sleeve for locking it. Whatever part's gone, you can just replace instead of spending 30 quid every time on a handle. But might not need to replace this anyway, because even though it's gone, it's still holding, and I can actually just take the cover off with the handle in place. So might just leave that, because we didn't ask to replace it, so we'll not go throwing more money at it. No clip as well. Yeah, somebody was on this already. There's your indexing disc, that's broken. There's one of the stopping devices. Obviously that's gone. It's completely worn in half. The other one's missing. And then inside, it's completely round. There should be 2 or even actually 3 keyways inside that hammer pipe. 2 down here and 1 up here. It locates onto the chisel. So these 2 here are what the stopping devices actually lock into. And this one and these 2 slide onto keyways and the tool holder and stops this chisel actually rotating around. When they wear out, the keyways start doing that job for a little while, but eventually they wear out as well. So no way to fix it is to replace the tool holder. Because it's a boring hammer, you will have to replace it. If it was a hammer only, just hammering, no rotation, you could get away with just using the stopping devices for stopping the bit from dropping out. It doesn't need to rotate anyway. But for a rotating boring hammer, you need to replace the whole tool holder. Otherwise you just won't be able to bore. So that comes off as one piece. We'll just leave that as is. What year is this? 2016, so it's the older one. Might be alright, but just in case, we'll just have a peek at the gears up here. So if they wear out or if they break, you're onto a lot of money to replace them. That looks okay. Yeah, that looks okay. This crank gear on top, or the eccentric gear it's called. Sometimes the teeth can actually snap off. Once that happens, and if they catch on the armature teeth, it'll destroy the armature and the rest of the crank teeth. This one's okay, none of them are broken. A common fault for this machine for them teeth to break off, so make sure that's alright before we continue. Let's see, as it is opened, I'll just give that grease a little bit of a top up. So all we're doing is focusing on this side. Handiest thing about these hammers, you can remove the tool holder without actually dismantling the entire gearbox. That's if it'll come out. Get a bigger punch. There we go. That one's thrown. Everything else looks okay. A wee bit of dirt around the C-clip. Give that a clean. Clean these parts. see what all we need. Probably need new pins as well because they're all worn. And we'll get a new tool holder for this thing. Right, this is quickly becoming very expensive. Stopping devices, tenner. Indexing disc, another tenner. These pins are €3 each. So it's another €20 for them there. Tool holder, €150. Striker pin, another 60. It's getting too expensive for this man, so he needs to get it a little bit cheaper. So, gonna have to go with a second-hand tool holder. Nothing wrong with this one. The actual keyways are all still in it. You can see how this one's completely worn out. So use that instead. Keep the original striker bolt. It's worn up here, but it is still hitting. And we're going to use the same pins. These aren't actually doing very much. They're only locking the tool holder into the hammer pipe. If anything, this might be a little bit slack, but that's it. So they'll still do. So we're going to have to use them there to get the cost down a little bit, because otherwise this here is going to go up to about €250 to €300 to fix. So we'll do that, and that'll keep the cost down quite considerably. A little bit of play, but we'll get away with it. This O-ring here is not for a seal, only acts as a damper, just in case the steel plate rattles. That's all it is, just to take away the rattle. I also going to need a wee C-clip for that there. That's her, or at least we hope that's her. Nice one. She's hammering, she's holding the butt, and she's releasing the butt. That's much better. That'll keep that man a wee bit happier, with the price a little bit better. A few wee second-hand parts. and leave some of the original parts on. That keeps the cost down. That's her one Bosch GBH 8/45D with its second-hand tool holder. Now, next up we have a DeWalt drill, DCD 999. Problem, as you can see, is the trigger. Because she's jammed in, she won't do anything. Now, sometimes, depending on what work they're doing, it could be the bellows. There's two little seals on the actual shaft of the trigger going onto the switch itself. They can perish or become tacky and basically fall apart like glue and stick the whole thing together. But that's to do with the environment. If you're working with chemicals or something, maybe. Generally it doesn't happen, so it's either going to be that or it's going to be a completely failed trigger. We'll get into this one anyway and see if we can fix it. Snap the labels so we can open it. And the bottom one. To one side, we just want to focus on the trigger. Which for DeWalt is part of the entire motor unit, so you can't buy this on its own, nor the contacts or anything, or the controller. It's all one piece along with the motor. So the motor's turning and the switch is actually working. It does actually come out again. Might be able to fix this. So to fix it, we're going to have to open it up. Before we open it, you want to give it a clean. Not much point in opening it up and introducing more dirt and grime than there was to begin with. So I'll just interfere with how the switch is actually working. I'll just give us a blow down with the compressor as well. So this is just your LED light. This is just a little wiring loom. Just break that bit of silicone holding it in. And to open it then, little clips on top. Prise them up. Two more over here. Pull all that out. Get all these pieces out. And the trigger. Bellows don't look too bad. These wee seals. It's not actually a bellow. It's just two wee lip seals. There's something there. Clean that away. And this track here, clean that out. looks like something just got on there. Cause that to stick together. Doesn't take much to hold back that spring. Have a good clean. I'll just give this a good clean as well. Hopefully that should be her. The little seal does actually have a little pinch on it. See it just there. Maybe that's something to do with it as well. So be careful when we're putting this in again to make sure it doesn't kink over again. If it does, I'll just cut off one of them there seals. These DeWalt drills do eventually get a problem with the trigger where it starts becoming intermittent, doesn't get the full speed control. That is through this little wiper here. Eventually, because she's so long, it'll start to flatten down and not make proper contact with the track inside of here. So to fix it, if it ever happens to you, or to prevent it from happening now, just bend up them wipers. Get your 2 nails underneath and just bend them up ever so slightly, just so there's a wee bit more spring to them. That'll fix that. Now to replace the grease that was removed, put a bit of silicone spray into it. And I'll also just clean that as well. This one on first. Don't bother with grease on the actual blades here, the wee tracks it slides on. If you put grease in, it's just going to cause stuff to stick to it. So I wouldn't actually bother, it's better off dry. So get it to there. If your seal's at the top, push in your spring. And that's her. The seal should be sitting here. The spring sits into a little hole back here. And the forward reverse switch just clicks on. I'll also just give this top cover a good clean as well. And that should hopefully solve the problem. Take that off because it's going to get in the way anyway. Slide your cover back on. This is just a wee crimp to hold down these cables and reconnect your LED. Because we took out the silicone up here, we'll have to replace that with something. But a gasket seal will do the job. I just use this gasket fix, just a light coat. You don't want to actually pump it inside. Just a light coat on the outside of it, just to make a plug. I also just give the body a quick clean out as well, just in case there's anything here jamming it up. But she's ready to go. hopefully that'll be her. Look at that. One DeWalt DCD 999 brushless cordless drill with a freed up trigger. The actual trigger itself was jammed up and stuff, more than likely bellows and a bit of grit and grime. Clean it out, give it a adjustment, and she's running like new again. Simple fix, save spending €100 on a new motor unit. That's her. We've got 2 insta fixes in the one day. A Ryobi drill. And there's a bit stuck in her. And the chuck's not working. So I have to get the chuck off. It's not going on at all. It kind of is going on actually. Yeah, so I'm jammed on there. Don't know if they were trying to drill out the screw or what. But I need that out to get the chuck off. See if we can give it a slap. Right, that's just not budging. It will not come off. There's no flats on the spindle. And the actual lock button is doing nothing. So I have to get the grinder and cut this one off. The meal of grinder is not too bad actually. Cut through that, no problem. Cut it, slice it. Cut the chalk off of the threads and slice down through the middle down here to release the clamping force on the threads. And you should be able to just knock it off then. There we go. That is indeed a drill bit, cobalt drill bit, jammed into the middle of it. Why they put that on, I do not know. Imagine that thread's going to be destroyed now. That is destroyed anyway, so we'll just lock it on with a bit of Loctite. Plenty on, so it doesn't come off again. That'll do. Now, last up today, we have a Paslode. This is an old Paslode, an IM 350/90 CT. Actually, probably even older than that. This is at least 20 years old, if not 25 or more. It definitely is that old because there's no actual serial number on this. So either this is one of the originals, or it's had the top chamber replaced. But this, going with the actual colour, is one of the original Paslodes, the one that doesn't have the one piece nail guide up here. This one is split in half. You can tell by the colour. That's this older, brighter orange colour. But also from just the amount of wear and scuff marks on it. She's a brave age. This one, she's working, running, firing, no problem. Customers just left it in because one of the screws up here has broken off. He's actually sent that in as well. So that screw there is sheared off, broken, down inside the holder here. Now, he was told it's no real problem. You can still use it without it, but he wants to get it changed. So to fix it and get this bolt out, to replace it, I have to strip it down. So to strip this half of the machine apart, if I'm going that far, may as well strip the whole half and just do a full service on it. Service is just stripping it down, cleaning everything, re-oiling it, putting it all back together again. That's a service. You only actually replace parts as you need to replace them. So like the O-ring or the filter up in here, if anything's actually broken or worn out, you just replace them as you need to. But generally, a service is a clean, oil and rebuild. So I have to strip it down anyway to fix this. So for the amount of labour charged involved in that there, I may as well just actually do a full strip down to make it a wee bit more worthwhile, get more bang for his buck. But like I say, this is fine. You can continue working the gun and using it with just the one bolt up here. Plenty of people do. The chamber's fairly clean. The back cover is fairly dirty. So maybe this is due a service anyway. That could be a 9 or a 4. See, that's 4 because that there's 6. So it's had a few services in its life anyway. Gas is on date too. So it's not too bad up here. I'll focus on this first. Normally in newer models you'd have to take out these 2 back screws as well. So you take this half apart. But these older ones, you don't have to, because it's on 2 halves anyway. Everything's working. It's just a bit grubby inside, so I just give that a quick clean as well. Battery contacts are still good. And this is our problem. Stripped out bolt here. So these here 2 socket heads, they're not a 4mm like the rest. These are actually a 3.5. Now, normally you're drilling out something like this. You have to use a left hand bit or something like that there. This one, she's actually tapped the whole way to the bottom, so normal drill bit, straight down into the top, drill down. If it bites, it'll actually unscrew this and keep screwing it till it comes out. Hopefully that gets it out. If not, plenty of spares, I can just swap it out. Nah, that's not budging at all. She's rusted on there. Rid of that. I just use a second hand one. A lot quicker and easier. So for the rest, I'm just going to strip and service it. actually loose. Oh, good job we did open it. This reed valve assembly is slack. Look at that. If that got any worse, you'd be replacing the chamber, which cost about €150. It was a good job we continued going, took it apart. We just don't want to find any O-rings needing to be replaced. As I've said before, can't get these O-rings for these old guns anymore. You have to use the one for the new IM360 gun, which cost €22 a piece. These ones are alright. Right, start scrubbing. I'll get this all cleaned down, re-greased and rebuilt. Right, all cleaned out, ready to go. That took a lifetime. There's actually more cleaning than that than I actually thought. Right, see if we can get her back together again now. And one other thing I did see is the actual nail guide. Those where the actual heads and the nails slide up. That's actually broken. It's cracked there, so we'll have to replace that too. O-rings, a little bit of a shoulder, but not much. They'll do for another little while. They're the original brown O-rings, the original IM350 brown O-rings. They were very expensive back in the day, or at least we thought they were. They used to cost €14 for one of them O-rings. And now the black ones cost 22 and only last half the amount of time. This machine is easily 20 years old, and they're probably the original brown O-rings. I also took out the steel rings out of the piston and took the back end of a Stanley blade and actually rubbed the inside of the track. They were actually completely gummed up, so that really did actually need a good clean. Now, if you're getting into tool repairs and you're starting doing this, take note on the Paslode ones. Just take your time, do them slow and do them right. Because these here are your bread and butter repairs. Get these on constantly for a service. Those are your main bulk of your repair money comes on. If you're doing them and you're servicing them, do them right. Get yourself a good name for doing them. And also the reed valve, that had to be opened. That was loose. You have to strip that apart, clean it out. Make sure it doesn't come loose again. Use plenty of Loctite. Only real place in the gun that Loctite is essential. Everything else you don't really want to put it on, because it'll make taking it apart again the next time more difficult. Generally, the reed valve you do not want coming off. Get in just as tight as they can go without stripping them out. Just make sure your o-ring seats correctly. Sometimes it can nip, get caught on these wee feet. These are meant to guide the o-ring into the actual slot so it seats correctly all the way around, but sometimes it can just snag and it won't go down. If it does that, just make sure it's not pinched here. Probably may need more than that for a proper test. I'll give her a wee test. That's her. One old Paslode AM350 up and running again. Replace the right hand side nail feed guide and a full stripping service, and she's ready to go. It's around 20 years old. Your man could easily get a few more years out of it yet. The original Paslode, brilliant machines they were. Anyway folks, hope you enjoyed this wee tool repairathon video. Hope you can take something from it. Hope it comes on useful for you someday. Anyway, don't forget to give us a wee follow there at the bottom. Hit the like and comment button if you want to leave a comment. Thanks for watching. If you want to help support the channel, you can also become members as well. Thank you folks. Cheers for watching. Chat to you later.